The 125th U.S. Open is here, and so is Oakmont, one of the world's most iconic and demanding courses. This course is going to test everybody, even a player who's on one of the most dominant runs, and that is Scottie Scheffler.
Yes.
Joining me to preview the 125th U.S. Open is my good friend, golf enthusiast, Curran Bhatia. Joining me now. Curran, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Dexter, excited to chat with you, especially as an alum of someone who's played Oakmont. That's incredible.
I told you this before we started.
Yes.
I played Oakmont, and it was the first golf course I ever played on, which is crazy.
That is, you have some institutional knowledge here,
bit.
so I'm excited to chat about this, and it's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, man. First, I got to compliment the suit, because the suit is good looking. We came with the pastel colors today.
Right back at you, man. The suit,
like
the sneakers.
Clean.
Yeah,
we go clean.
We got the memo.
That's how we go.
Memo was read.
Memo is read. So, when we talk about Oakmont,
yes,
right? Oakmont being back,
yep,
and hosting the U.S. Open, this is a record. This is the 10th time,
correct,
that'll be hosted at Oakmont. Now, the course has had some recent renovations.
Yep.
So my question for you here is, how different will this version of Oakmont play? How do you think it's going to test the field in comparison to years past?
Yeah, absolutely. So this U.S. Open is taking place at Oakmont, as you mentioned. This is the 10th time it's taking place there. We're really looking forward to it. Last time around in 2016, Dustin Johnson took home the crown there. So let me tell you a little bit about the history here, Dexter. So this is one of the toughest tests in golf. When it was created in 1903, 150 men, 24 mules. This is true. Were used to create this golf course. They wanted to make it man versus course. That's the struggle they were going for, and that is the struggle they have achieved. This is a very tough golf course. Now, you talked about what's different this year at Oakmont. Fewer trees. It's almost like links style, okay? There's over 210 bunkers. There's no water on this course. The big unknown, Dexter, is going to be weather, right? Wind, rain. These are things that these top players in the world, these top golfers are going to have to contend with. That's a big unknown, is the weather. But you have to be precise. You have to get it in the fairway because the rough is unforgiving. The rough is so unforgiving. Bryson DeChambeau, defending U.S. Open champion, he hit his ball into the rough in the practice round. You know what he said? We are cooked. We are cooked. We're all cooked, right? If you hit the ball into the rough, you are cooked. And that is the words of the defending champion. So the rough is punishing. You don't want to be in the rough at Oakmont. The other thing is par is actually a really good score. So, a lot of times we see major championship winners, like they're going for eagle or birdie on like a par 5 or something like that. This course, par is amazing. Dustin Johnson, when he won, he was a few strokes under par. But when Angel Cabrera won the time before, that was in 2007 when the U.S. Open was at Oakmont, his score +4. So he was positive in the 4. He was +5. Not even +4, +5. No one in the field was under par. So that gives you a little bit of insight into the kind of scores that you need. Par is a great score this weekend in the U.S. Open, and this is going to be a great test, and I'm looking forward to it.
Now, when you talk about it being a great test,
yeah,
because you just talked about what Bryson DeChambeau has comments on there. Some other players have described this course, folks, as hellish.
Yes.
They've said that it's hellish, and that seems like a good word. And you could say hellish, cooked, whatever you want to say. It is tough. What makes Oakmont such a brutal major championship test? And who does this, I would guess, who does this favor, or who do you think this is going to expose this week? Because the course is going to do something. Either it's going to favor somebody's game or it's going to expose somebody. So how does this work out? Who do you think this helps or hurts this week?
Absolutely. Like we said, Oakmont, the U.S. Open this year is going to be a massive test. And we should get the Bryson DeChambeau quote perfectly correct. He said, "We are cooked beyond belief," right? Just to give it the context that it needs. It's going to be very difficult. Church Pew's bunkers. So there's actually a very unique bunker early on in the round. Lightning fast slopes on the green. So actually on some greens, as you're hitting your approach shot, the green is sloping away from you. And you can think about how difficult that is just mentally, like hitting it in there and you could just easily miss the green. Deep rough, tight driving lanes like we talked about, no water, which in a way actually makes it tougher because everything else is so tough, including the rough. So the length is also something that we have to talk about. They actually extended the length by over 100 yards this time around at Oakmont since the last time they were there. There's a par 3 this year that's over 300 yards. A par 3 that's over 300 yards. So, average golfers, you can't even imagine that. This is still a big test for even pro golfers. And a lot of golfers have come out and said, hey, this is kind of silly. What are we doing here? But that is the state of the game. That is the state of the U.S. Open. It is a massive, massive test. So to answer your question, who does this favor? Well, this course, Oakmont, favors mentally tough golfers, the mentally toughest of the mentally tough, right? That is who is going to get it done. And what I mean by that is you need to minimize mistakes. So if you're a golfer who, let's say you have one bad hole and you have a blow up round or that affects you, you are not going to do well this year at the US Open. So this course, the difficulty level favors those who are mentally tough.
So you say that and mentally tough, and we know golf is a very mental game.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's an understatement.
I'm not going to share my scores at Oakmont in my early days with the people. I'm not going to do that. We're going to delete that.
Was it over under 200 or?
It was
that's a good line, at least.
That's a good line. I'll say that.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
Okay.
And I'm not ashamed of that.
No.
I will say that.
Yes.
But one of, I think, the mentally tough golfers that we got to talk about, it's got to be Scotty Sheffler, right? He's
definitely
the betting favorite here. He's had an incredible run here in 2025. Mm-hmm. Do you think he does well here this weekend? Are you rocking with Scotty Scheffler, or are you taking the field here?
I'm rocking with Scotty Sheffler. It's been a wonderful dream season for Scotty Scheffler so far, even with starting late. He started late because he had a hand injury. Remember, he had a cooking accident that kept him out the first few weeks of the year. Since then, he's been red hot. 9 top 10s in 2025, 3 wins already in 2025, including the PGA Championship. So he's got a major already under his belt. He's been absolutely electric. And here's a big stat for you, Dexter, because I know you like the stats, okay?
I do like the numbers.
So since the 2021-2022 season, if you had put your money on Scotty Scheffler winning versus the S&P 500, you would have made more money, made a better return on Scotty Scheffler. And that is how prolific he has been, and especially in 2025, a legendary season. 9 straight times since leading with 54 holes, Scotty Scheffler has got it done. So that means once he gets the lead, he doesn't give it up. And that's a great quality to have in a top golfer. Scotty Scheffler, #1 player in the world. So I see no reason to think that he won't have a phenomenal performance here at US Open at Oakmont.
You heard from Curran Bhatia. Bank on Scotty Scheffler.
Yes.
He's been getting it done. He's been getting some of you guys paid
Absolutely.
out there too. But we know about the big names, right? We know about Scheffler. We know about Rahm.
Yep.
We know about Xander. Those are the big names. But you always like, whenever I have you here to talk golf, we'd like to talk about dark horses.
Yes.
You got to watch out for the dark horses. So do you have a few dark horses, that you feel could be hoisting the trophy on Sunday?
Absolutely. Of course. I got to give you some sleepers, some dark horses. We got to make it interesting here. So let's talk about some of the other names that are going to be in contention here at the 125th U.S. Open at Oakmont. So this isn't a dark horse, but this is someone who isn't necessarily maybe on the top of the list, maybe somewhere in that first 5. Rory McIlroy. Again, not a dark horse, right? He just won the Masters. He just got the monkey off of his back. He completed the career Grand Slam. But he hasn't been as effective as people thought. We thought, hey, you won the Masters finally after so long. You're going to be winning left, right, and center. He hasn't done that. So the odds for Rory McIlroy this time out, plus 850. But he is swinging more freely now that he won that Masters, won the career Grand Slam. So someone to look out for. Not a dark horse, not a sleeper, but just someone to think about. Okay, now let's talk about a new young player on the scene, Ludwig Åberg. His name, remember that name. This guy is like a machine. If you look at his swing, it is absolutely textbook. And this is one of the best young players in the field. We talked about mental toughness earlier, okay? Ludwig Åberg is calm, he's composed, and he's got a great swing. So I think he's someone that you have to look at. His game is actually built for US Open setups. And so I think he's going to be someone that you definitely need to look at. He's at plus 3,500 right now, Åberg is. So again, mental toughness will be rewarded at this US Open. Åberg fits that profile. I'm gonna go a little deeper now into those dark horses because I know you like to get some value for your money.
Show some depth.
You like to see some depth. Okay, Sepp Straka. Okay, that is someone that has 4 career wins in the PGA Tour. Now you're saying, okay, that's not a lot. 2 of those, though, in 2025. So remember, golf is all about getting your swing down, getting your muscle memory down, getting your mechanics down. What have you done for me lately? Who is swinging well? Who is having the least amount of swing thoughts when you get over the ball, right? So Sepp Straka is someone who's had recent success in 2025. That's someone I would look at. Be careful, though, because in the other 2 majors this year, he actually missed the cut. So we're not sure, but again, if you want to take a flyer, plus 5,000, Sepp Straka. 2 more names for you real quick. Right. Aaron Rai. Aaron Rai is known for accuracy, and we talked about how important, you've played at Oakmont, you know how important accuracy is. So Aaron Rai is known for his accuracy. The putting has been a little bit questionable, so we're not sure. But look, he made it to Sunday at the other majors this year. Aaron Rai is at plus 10,000, a player to look at. And one last one. You wanted a dark horse. So I am going to give you the biggest sleeper pick there is. We know that the U.S. Open allows for people to qualify. Yes. So there is a dentist from the area. His name is Matt Vogt, and he was actually able to qualify. Now, he does have some institutional knowledge. He caddied at Oakmont. He's from the area, and he was able to qualify for the U.S. Open. It's a wonderful story. He said, I feel like I'm dreaming. I'm going to wake up from a dream. He's also very motivated. Tragically, his father passed away 2 months ago, and he's playing in his honor. So Matt Vogt, it's a great story. We're hoping the best for him. If you want to take a flyer, that's at plus 100,000. So put $1 on it, see what happens. Put something on it. It's a great story.
That's a great story. We'll see what happens there.
Yes.
Okay, I have a feeling you're not going to pick, even though he's from the area, you're not going to
Yes.
pick him to win. But
Yeah.
the last thing for me is, all right, I think you might have sold us on this already, but what's your final pick? Who wins the 125th U.S. Open at Oakmont and why?
My official pick for the 125th
Be bold,
U.S.
be
Open.
Be bold. Come on.
I'm going to be bold here in that you got to pick the guy who is surging at the right time, the number one player in the world. My pick for 2025 U.S. Open at Oakmont, Scotty Sheffler. Now, I know that's not a dark horse pick, that's not a sleeper, but it really has been Scotty Sheffler and everyone else this year. Incredible player, like we said, started a little slow with the hand injury. He's been locked in. I don't think there's been a player that's been more prolific in the last 18 months than Scotty Sheffler. He's been red hot, and he has all the tools to get it done at Oakmont, especially because it is such a tough golf course. So I am going to pick Scotty Sheffler. We mentioned 3 wins this year, already 9 top 10s, which is incredible for 2025. We talked about Rory McIlroy. Rory McIlroy has the monkey off his back. He's been incredible, but he's got to work a little bit on the approach game. It hasn't been where we wanted. Jon Rahm is another player that a lot of people are looking at. We haven't seen or heard as much for him. He maybe needs to get the chipping in order. He's going to be in contention. The other player we have to talk about, Bryson DeChambeau. He's the defending champion. So I do think Bryson DeChambeau is going to be heard from at the U.S. Open this year. But at the end of the day, the person hoisting that U.S. Open trophy is going to be Scotty Scheffler. It's Scotty Scheffler's world. We're just living in it. He's having an electric season, a legendary season. So I think that's going to continue, and I think Scotty's going to pick up another major.
All right, we're going to see who picks up that major win here. Coming up, the 125th U.S. Open at Oakmont. Going to be really interesting to see how it is, how the scores play out with the challenging course, the hellish course, the course that's going to have everybody cooked, as so has been said. We'll see how that all
You know this
out.
Firsthand as someone who played it. So
I was cooked on that course, I'll tell you guys that much. That is Curran Bhatia. Check him out. Does a great job around the world of golf. Curran, we'll see how this tournament plays out. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the golf this weekend. And, yeah, man, I'm excited to check it out.
Yep.